We can go from there. I do have the deck. Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the bit of a delay there. We're trying this new platform utilizing Microsoft Teams webinar functionality. Welcome to our SCTE Golden Gate chapter intro to cable games. I'd like to introduce Mr. Doug Nolan and Woody Cash as our presenters today and our gracious hosts. The floor is yours, Mr. Woody and Mr. Doug.
All right. Well, I'm going to go over a little bit of chapter business and some updates, and then we're going to get started. So good morning, everybody. Many of you know me, but for those that don't, I am Woody Cash. I'm the Content Knowledge Officer for SCTE. Welcome to the Golden Gate chapter intro to cable games. So April 23rd, which I believe is a week and one day from tomorrow, we are having our annual Vendors Day. In fact, I think a week from tomorrow or today is our annual golf tournament, but that's filled, so I presume if you're in, you're in. And if you're not, you might not get in, but that is filled. However, we will be meeting at the DoubleTree at the 580 680 exchange. For you guys that have been there before, you probably remember going either to San Ramon or Concord. Don't go there. We will not be there. We will be in Pleasanton. So if you would, please, I'll put it in the chat. We have 2 registrations. One's for Vendors Day, and that will get you a free lunch, get you in and get you a free lunch, unless we run out of seats. And then we have cable games registration. Now, cable games will start at 3 p.m., right? So we need to be registered and ready to go at 3 o'clock. This is a very fun event. Some people might find it a little stressful and, but I think everybody in the end finds it fun. We're hoping a lot of people will play this year, and we're hoping to send somebody that will win the national title, because we went through a period where Golden Gate chapter was kind of dominating in that space to nothing. We were getting people to national, but they weren't finishing the job, so to speak. And no pressure. In the end, it's all about fun. So we want people to play, and if you win, that's great, and if you win national, that's great. But if you don't, that's okay. You played, and that's the most important thing. So I would like to cover before we get started on the webinar. I'd like to cover about certifications, or I'd like to cover the topic of certifications. Now, we actually pay our members to certify. So if you look at our flyer on the website, if you total all those incentives up, it's more than $6,000 in total. Now you think, okay, nobody's ever passed that. I can passed all of those. I can assure you, I know a person that has passed every single one. Now, you might not get it all done in a year, but there's no reason you shouldn't try. And I see a person on here that has passed a few. And the other thing is that it gives you a credential that you get to keep with you, and it goes next to your name, and it's there for the rest of your life. You get that credential, that certification. So let's just say you were to move and work in a different MSO, you get to take the certification with you, right? So you get to keep it. So people look at those credentials and say, hey, this guy took some extra time to develop his skills and to test his skills. So we're hoping to drive a few more certifications, or actually a lot more certifications. It's been kind of stagnant lately. People just kind of rely on what's in-house, but what's in-house, it's somewhat transportable, but for SCT, which is national and it applies to all MSOs that I'm aware of, they look at that and say, yeah, this person did more. I'll tell you a story real quick. I was hiring a tech. I had one position, 2 candidates. They were like, I think me and the 2 hiring supervisors, or who had done the interviews, we couldn't decide. We said, okay, we're going to sleep on it. Uh, and then the next morning, I contacted the two soups and I said, guess what? This one guy has already done SCT certs. The other guy hasn't. So that was our tiebreaker. A true story, right? So we went with that person, and he did incredibly well while I was there, and I think he's still there working and doing incredibly well. So yeah, don't short yourself. Get in there and take a look, and be ready to do some certifications. Test your knowledge. Show that you're not afraid to test your knowledge, and that um, you will get a credential that again you can carry with you.
Double
So
click on that real quick, Woody, on the
yes,
training part. Hey, Mike Farino here. I partner with Woody on the training side of things, and I can't emphasize how important certifications have become in our industry. Our companies offer several, education opportunities, but the SCTE sets the standard. Just to be clear on that, that what we do in your day to day, whether you're in network, whether you're in construction, tech ops, sales engineering, what the products we're pushing, the products we're developing and partnering with across the industry rely on the SCTE to provide the industry leading training and relevant certifications. I mean, and they're just as important and powerful as college degrees now. Trade schools have become extremely important. And with what we do here, the SCTE is just that. It's like a trade school. It's giving you a certification in something that can transcend not only your current role and your current aspirations, but it can take you places you never thought it would go. So I know it's brought me here from being a field technician in Concord many years ago to where I am today, thankfully to that. So, just wanted to double click on that. Back to you, Woody.
well, no, thank you for that. That's very helpful. And I know when I was applying for the plant manager job way back, I don't even care to tell how far along that was, but there was a couple of leaders, and they knew me through SCT, and they knew I'd done SCT certification. So there was people there with a lot more experience than me, but they looked at what I did and they said, "Oh yeah, that's your man." So they looked at what I was doing, and that just gave me the edge, and I ended up getting that job. So don't think it doesn't matter. It does matter. So we'll get into the webinar here without any further delay. So we have Doug Nolan. Doug Nolan is a veteran in the industry. I think, Doug, you've probably approaching like maybe 40 years of experience.
Yeah, cable dinosaur.
Yeah, yeah, cable dinosaur. And same thing with me. I retired with 40 plus years in experience of experience, and we both been in leadership. I know Doug rose up, did construction manager, and then did the regional director of construction, and then hopped over to Google Fiber. I believe you're a project manager for Google Fiber. Is that correct?
Yeah, I lead the supply chain team.
Okay. So he leads the supply chain team. I'm retired, right? So I my day is kind of what I want to do today. Uh, and I highly recommend it. Work hard, do your certifications, train yourself, be good at what you do, and look forward to retirement. So also, both Doug and I were former cable games champions. I think I did it in 97. I think Doug did it in 99, didn't you?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, 99. 2 years after me, he became cable games champion. And we had one other person in Golden Gate chapter that um, had won the national championship before. I think it was only one. It was Jeff Summers, for you old folks that might remember Jeff. I think him and Doug worked together at one time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then after me was Ron Poole. Ron Poole, as you guys know, is the manager of network maintenance in the South Bay. He also competed and won the cable games. Now, since then, it's been pretty quiet. So obviously, we want more people to play. We want to get, we want some good competition, and we want to get this going. Me and Doug both also served on the cable game subcommittee. So we help facilitate cable games nationwide after we won. We kind of stopped competing and then went into trying uh, to facilitate the games for everybody else that want to play. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug. Doug, under the weather today, so I'm going to kind of let you run with it if that's okay. But if you need help, let me know.
Thanks, Woody, and I hope you feel better. And thanks all for joining today. Yeah, at one point in time, I actually was the chairman of the International Cable Tech Games Committee with SCTE. And I second what Woody has said and what Michael said about certifications. I think getting certified has certainly helped me in my career and moved me along in my career. So today we're going to have a quick overview of cable tech games, the different games that are played at the table, cable tech games. You know, the one thing to remember with it all is have fun. Hopefully you can join us at the Vendors Day and participate in the games. It's a really great chance to meet other folks in the industry in different areas. And as I say, the key thing is to have fun. And please don't hesitate to ask questions along the way. We're just going to go over the different games that are played at Cable Tech Games. So I think, Michael, if you're driving, we're going to go over drop connection, cable splicing, meter reading, OTDR, MTDR, fiber connector, fiber splicing, and cable jeopardy. Everybody's favorite cable jeopardy, where you forget everything you knew. Drop connection. Now, you know, some of the veterans in the industry might think drop connection, piece of cake, no problem. Don't be sure to take this game seriously as all the rest, because there have been quite a few times that people have not done a good job of cutting a fitting onto the cable, and it has kept them from winning overall. So make sure you're paying attention. You know, it involves putting connectors on 3 of the 4 ends of the prep cable by following the manufacturer's recommended installation instructions. And let me stop here for a second to say, you know, what makes cable games work are the hosts that host the games. And these are the different vendors that support us by bringing all the materials, setting up, spending time with you all. They're doing their best to score them. So make sure you're nice to them, thank them for their time, and understand that if it wasn't for them, these cable games wouldn't happen. So the other thing about that is, if you have any questions before you start a game, ask the host. Make sure you understand what they're going to be grading you on. Woody wants to talk about strategy at the end, no problem, Woody. So make sure you're clear about what you're going to be judged on before you start the game. So I think with that, we can go on to the next one, Michael. Then the hardline splicing. You'll see some interesting different techniques in the hardline splicing. You got to prep both ends and put a connector on one end. You got to be very careful that you do not, you know, score the center conductor of the cable. You got to be careful that the length of the conductor is correct. And, you know, other than that, I would practice this one, because there's some incredible times that are made. And I guess this is probably a good point to mention, you know, the joke of it all is they mark down if you bleed. So try not to damage yourself. Try and have fun while you're doing it, and don't get hurt. Okay, Michael, we can move to the next one. Meter reading. There's a black box in meter reading. And what you need to do is you need to read the levels out of the ports, and you need to determine what are the devices that are inside the box. What are the values of the devices? It's got a tap and a DC based on what the input levels are and what the output levels are. You know, you really have to think about this one. And, you know, one thing I would recommend as you're going through this game is don't overthink it. Go with your gut. Be ready for the, you know, to do some math so you can deduct what's what inside that box. This is a really challenging game. This can be a make it or break it game. But once again, all these games are timed, so you have to, except for Jeopardy. So do your best to make it quick. And as I say, make a commitment to what you decide is in the box as quickly as you can. OTDR. You know, this is where you're going to use an optical time domain reflectometer to test a piece of fiber, identify the events on the fiber, and the length of the fiber. Once again, a timed event. If you're unfamiliar with any of the equipment that's being used, once again, make sure to talk to the host so that you're clear on how to use the equipment. They're very good at really being able to help along players so that they are doing the best they can to provide you with a good experience as well.
And keep in mind, folks, there will be these vendors have tables, so you don't have to wait till the games to go get your hands on the equipment. Go before then.
Really good point, Woody. I mean, they're there all day, so make sure you touch base with them ahead of time if you want. They're more than happy to work with you and show you how their equipment works.
Yeah, and on that point, Doug stated that there's, an opportunity for you to learn. This is also part of building a team too. So as you're getting ready for the cable games, start talking to your peers that work in network, start talking to your peers that work in these other departments and build yourself a team, or connect with some folks on site and maybe ask if you see somebody at a vendor table that's, asking some very intuitive questions based off their experiences using an OTDR. You can tap them on the shoulder, introduce yourself and say, hey, would you like to join the team? It's all about that networking. But Larry, I just see your hands up, sir. Go ahead. The floor is yours, Mr. Mendoza.
So yeah, I had a question for Doug and team. When it comes down to the math portion of it, are you allowed to use your smartphone?
I don't think there's any rules that would disallow you from using your smartphone. What I would say is if you're using your smartphone, you might put yourself in a situation where it's going to take longer than you would expect. It's not heavy duty math that's used. I mean, basically you've got to identify, I think it's a 4-port tap, 1 DC. So, there'll be a picture of what could be within the box. You choose the right picture and put the right values down there. Is basically how it works. So you can give it a shot. I don't think it's against the rules. I don't know. Don's been on the committee since I've dropped off the committee. But I don't think there's any rule against using your phone as a calculator.
Yeah, I think if anything, you would use it as a calculator. I can't imagine during the exercise how a smartphone would help beyond a calculator. It's basic math, figuring out cable loss, right? Which I think most techs probably even do in their head.
That's what I was about to say is, from my experiences observing the event, they're doing it in their head. They've got the equipment there and it's all based off that experience. So it isn't too heavy.
Did that answer your question, Larry?
It sure does. Thank you.
All right. And I'll take another second to talk about the games and what happens when you register for the games. They'll take all the registrations and they'll group people into teams. The teams are grouped together based on years in the industry. And what that does is that kind of evens the playing field when you get to the Jeopardy game. Now, even though you're grouped in teams, it's still, you're competing as an individual. So it's important that, you understand that. It's important that you get to know the guys or gals in the team, because it really is an opportunity to maybe meet some people that you haven't worked with before. But understand you're put into teams of typically 4, but you are competing on your own, and there are no team aspects to the competitions. Okay, so that was OTDR. MTDR, a lot like OTDR, except it's a metallic TDR. So we're back to using coax. One of the important things is checking to make sure you have the right velocity of propagation, VOP. Once again, talk to the host. They can tell you how to set it up and make sure that it's right. It's very important. If you don't have the VOP correct, you're not going to get a good reading out of the cable and you're not going to do well in the game. So let's make sure you got that right first. You're going to be asked to determine a fault, if it's an open or a short. I think it's my trick, I think, is open up, right? Open goes up, short goes down as you read it. And then identify the length of that splice that's out there. So, you know, similar to OTDR, only this is with coax, the others with fiber, obviously. Fiber connection. So this one, and I'm not sure if all these games are going to be held. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to make the Vendors Day this year. It's the first one I've missed in decades, and sorry about that, but I have other things going on. So, but in this one, you'll be asked to splice on it or to put on a termination. You'll have to prep the fiber to put the termination on. Make sure that you're, you know, when you're doing these games, there's going to be all kinds of tools on the table. There may be some tools that are tools that you would use, and there may be some tools that you would not use for the game. So be wary of that. The other thing to think about is it's always safety first. So any of these games, you should be putting safety glasses on if that's appropriate, you know, for the splicing type games. Any chance you get, you should be thinking of the safety equipment you should be wearing for the game. So for this connector game, it can be field installable mechanical connector or a splice-on connector using the proper techniques. You know, the judging is always taking a look at the steps you take when you do the different games to make sure you're doing the right steps, not doing anything that wouldn't be acceptable, you know, like heating up a center conductor and using a string to take off the leftover dielectric. Not that anybody would ever do that. Okay, next one. Fiber splicing. This is one where, particularly if you don't have any experience, you probably want to spend some time ahead of time doing this. You know, and I would say, whatever your skill level is, get involved with the games. It's always fun to participate. It's a chance for you to learn in some cases. And as I said, you should just be having fun with it. So don't be intimidated by things like fiber splicing if you've never done it before. It's not rocket science. You know, you can learn something and give you a chance to experience more and get involved with that. So with this game, you prepare both ends of a 250 micron optical cable, complete installation by fusion splicing both ends together with an optical splice. And make sure you put on the protector sleeve. If you splice it without that, not so good. Since this is something that requires a little more experience, there's a 5-minute time limit. If you don't get it completed within 5 minutes, the host will just call it and say, sorry. Next one, please. Jeopardy, everybody's favorite. Now, since we're down to Jeopardy, what's important about all the games that we've talked about already is there's timing involved with the games. A few years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, we added a self-timer to the game where the person participating in the game starts and stops the clock themselves. The hosts back in the day used to do it themselves with a stopwatch. And, you know, there were some folks saying, well, he didn't stop it on time, or he didn't stop it when I was done. So now the people participating in the games are responsible for starting and stopping the clock themselves using this special device that we have. Yeah, and that's a good point, Woody. You may want to go out on the web and take a look, because there are some YouTube videos about the cable tech games and how to participate in them. But I think taking the stopwatches out of it and giving the contestants the opportunity to start and stop the clock themselves was a real game changer. And it really puts it all on the contestants. So Jeopardy. As I said before, this is the one where you sit in the chair and play Jeopardy and forget everything you knew about cable. I mean, it's kind of, we used to have these helmets, these hard hats that had lights that lit up on them when you were playing Jeopardy, and I used to call them the brain-sucking helmets. You know, sometimes you get up there and you just will be flustered because there are questions being asked or answers being given where you have to ask the questions that you're pretty sure you know, but you know, sometimes you're just afraid to hit the trigger. Have fun with this game. I've seen some games where there's been great competition between 2 or 3 or 4 players. I myself, when I won the international games, had a great Jeopardy game with this one guy that was sitting a couple seats away from me. And it was between him and I, we were hitting the button every time. And, you know, I looked down and I thought to myself, who is this guy? And when we finished, we, you know, came up, we shook hands, and he said, you know, I was looking down there saying, who is this guy? So great camaraderie can happen in the games, can happen with Jeopardy. Just try and have fun. Once again, there'll be 3 judges there. They're just calling it as they see it. Don't get frustrated if questions don't go your way. Just try and have a good time with it. And it says 10 minutes per round. We just go till the game is done. So this can be a really fun game, especially if the participants make it that way. So just enjoy yourself. Enjoy the whole games in general. And I don't know how many more slides we have, Michael. I think that
So
was all.
something to add in there on the Jeopardy, and thank you, Doug. That was a great overview of Jeopardy. And this year we have some VIPs from the Comcast West Comtech Jeopardy team that are going to be competing as well. So y'all have a chance to show up and compare your skills and knowledge base against these guys that went to national and competed in the Comcast Comtech Jeopardy championships. So it's going to be a great chance to get in there and really test yourselves. I've competed on Jeopardy several years in a row, both at the SCTE and within our company. Larry Mendoza and I were on a team and trained a team together as well, and it's a phenomenal experience. What's really cool about Comtech or about SCTE Jeopardy, here's where it really kind of ties together with all the training that we do, is it's like a refresher. You guys, we go into these training programs in the SCTE courses and certifications, and there's just a lot of information thrown at us. And with the SCTE training modules, there are these little quizzes you get to take per module, right? Well, Jeopardy is like taking all of that knowledge and then testing yourself outside of that academic structure to see how much you retained and really how much are you using in your day to day.
Great point. Thanks, Michael.
And Michael, I don't know about, obviously I don't know about lately, but used to Comcast would record video of the cable games or the Jeopardy, and then they would post it up on the Comcast intranet so you could actually watch it. Is that still
Yes, sir.
available?
The Comtech Jeopardy or the SCTE Jeopardy?
Comtech Jeopardy.
The Comtech Jeopardy is posted on, I know, on our internal website. So for the external partners here, I'm not too sure if it shows up on the YouTube channels or the Comcast YouTube channel itself. I haven't looked at that channel in quite some
So
time.
if you're within Comcast, you might want to look up that video. Now, that we will not have any Comcast specific questions at SCTE Jeopardy. It'll be all industry questions. So you can just toss the ones out that are Comcast specific, but they ask a lot about different technology and stuff like that. So yeah, you might get an idea of, or you might get a couple of answers off that if you just watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and pay attention.
it's a phenomenal experience. Go
Pay
ahead.
attention to the categories when you're doing Jeopardy. The categories will give you and Larry put a link in there. Looks like the Comtech. The categories will give you a hint as to what the questions are going to be. So make sure to pay attention to that and it'll give you a chance to think about whether it's an area that's in your wheelhouse or not. All right.
That's the
So
last
there's-
slide. I want to
Yeah.
just talk about strategy for a minute.
Why don't you talk about strategy, and then I'll get into the medals, just so folks know.
Yeah. So, on this, there, you should plan on strategy, right? Everything should require strategy. So the one thing you want to do for sure, Doug mentioned it, but just in case you didn't hear it, double check the settings on everything, right? If you're using test equipment, make sure it's set up right. And then again, go to the table and get familiar with that piece of test equipment. Maybe you've used an OTDR like a lot, but now in this event, we might be using a different one. So it might throw you a little bit if you're not, you're not familiar with it. So double check the settings. And then, at least for me, try to be relaxed. Stress won't make you better. At least almost nobody won't make you better. So just be relaxed. Try to have fun. I think when I won, I wasn't even planning on playing. I had zero prep work, and somebody just taught me into stay. I kind of wanted to go home, and somebody's like, "Oh no, you'll do really good. You'll do really good. Come on and let's play." Right? So I got kind of drug into it, and then I ended up winning. But I was totally relaxed. I had like zero expectations. Right? It's just like, I just did what I do all the time at work. So for me, that was the best, right? If I got stressed, I probably would have messed up. Now, the other thing you want to do, don't disregard any category. Do not. And I'll tell you why. Good story here. When Doug won, we're all marching up and we're getting medals for this category, this category. Doug didn't get any medals until the final. He marched up and got the gold medal. And why is that? Is because he didn't bomb on any category. He was like around fifth place in every single category. And some of us were like 20th. We might have got a gold medal here and a silver there, and then we'd have a 20th, so we kind of eliminated ourselves. But Doug was very consistent, right? So he didn't disregard any. He got every category and he did it well. Maybe not enough for a gold medal for that particular category, but overall, he was the best player. So that's kind of the strategy you want to have. Be relaxed, double check your settings, don't disregard any category. Take some time to get to those vendors table, or even now, take a little time to practice. Look up, there's a lot of, manuals and stuff like that, or training documentation that shows you like pyramid cut for a, hard line connector, and the, details on an F connector and so forth. So look all those up. Be prepared to know what good really looks like, right? So once you know what good really looks like, you're going to strive to get that really good result from what you're trying. And
Hey, Woody, and on
yes.
looking things up, the SCTE website has those handy 30-minute and 20-minute lightning modules, right? That they could use to look up some subject matter and study if they're registered with the SCTE, correct?
Yes, Lightning modules are wonderful. There's a lot of content on SCT, including hardline connection and fiber splicing and so forth. So yeah, I thank you, Michael. I forgot to mention that, but yes, you can go on the SCT website and look at webinar archives, and they have a lot. We have a lot of training that goes into details about most of these categories.
And the lightning modules are digestible. They're like 20, 30-minute little sessions. That way, if you don't have a lot of time, you can engage. But I see, Don, you have your hand up, sir. Is there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I had a question, or I've had questions asked me. I've been a coach at the international games a couple of times, and a couple things I just want to add. So, guys, if you're interested, there's the QR code in the upper left to register for it. You can win a trip to DC, right, to go to Tech Expo, which is a fantastic thing. I liked how Woody talked about consistency is basically how you win as an overall winner. But I've had, I guess, question for you, Woody and Doug, as this has come up. I've had at the international games even a competitor who says, hey, I only do fiber only. I don't even touch coax. This is the first time I'm actually touching coax. But more commonly is, hey, I don't even touch fiber. I mostly work in the coax world. What's your advice to either one of those questions?
Hands on.
Yeah, I think you just got to get the experience. And, we've said you can do that when you go to Vendors Day, but I would suggest you could do that also when you're out in the field, working with others that do that. I think most of the people in the industry really want to share knowledge and help people to move up in their career. So I would ask my supervisor or, any local person that does fiber splicing, say, hey, can you kind of show me the ropes a little bit? Um, you know, we all want to do better in our career. Knowledge is the key to doing better in your career. And I haven't met a supervisor or manager that wouldn't support somebody moving up and getting that experience so that they can move up, because it makes them a better person for themselves and a better person for the company as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. A lot of offices have a fiber splicer there. I'm sure, supervisor wouldn't mind pulling you off, a piece of fiber and let you, do some splicing and or do some connectors, fiber connectors. Same thing with coax. Almost all offices have some coax, so coring the coax and getting ready to do that. Now, well, I think one thing we mentioned, Doug, you can't like use drills or anything for coax coring. You have to hand core it, right? That's still the
Yeah,
case.
I thought they took out the ability to use drills. Yes.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
you have to hand core it. So you might go looking for that handle. And because you'd be surprised, after you do it a few times, how your forearm feels. It's like, wow,
Yeah,
I see why we use drills.
it's
Uh,
work. It's work,
yeah,
but you see somebody knows how to do it, they're like a machine.
yeah, they can get through it real quick. So yeah, you might want to try that to find your handle and go out and do core some connectors on the 500. So yeah, there are ways to get some experience even though that's not your primary job.
All right. So,
And I see Ron Poole on the call. Doug, I'll let you wrap up, but I'm hoping Ron might speak up and share some wisdom with us as well.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Sorry I joined a little late. So I missed a little bit, but yeah, no, I think you guys covered everything pretty well. In fact, there's a YouTube video out there floating that I did. If you just look up cable splicing or cable game splicing, look for my name on there. I put together how to splice hardline coax in a competitive environment. So if you want some tips and how to do it in cable games, just look up my video and you get an idea of how I did it. And I think I held the national record for a while on that. I think my time is 1 minute and 22 seconds. So go for it. I challenge everybody to try it. Yeah, it's kind of like a marathon. You called it out. Don't focus on one event. Focus on them all. Just like Doug's experience. When I won nationals, I did medal in coax splicing, but I did not medal in anything else. And so just to prove the point that it's you want to do well in all events. And don't get discouraged if you don't do well in an event. You'd be surprised that there's probably a lot of other people that competed that also didn't do well in that event. I think you can try to avoid getting in your head is what I'm trying to get at. And most importantly, have fun. I try to explain to people it's a learning experience. It's only going to make you better. And then for those of you that are maybe don't do a lot of this stuff in your current job, but are aspiring to do this in your current job, this is an opportunity for you to get some hands-on experience. I always love it when I interview people and they say, they don't currently splice fiber, but they've done training and they've done it in the cable games. And that usually tells me right away then that, okay, they have a little bit of experience and they know kind of a general idea of what we're doing. So thanks for putting this together. I think it's really good. I hope to see some people on this phone call competing in the games. I'll be there, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Ron, how many times did you go to national before you won?
Oh man, that's a sore subject. So I've been to nationals 4 times. And it took me 3 times before I finally won. I actually I placed third one year, and then I placed second the next year. I was pretty salty about that. There's some pictures floating around. I'm like the only guy sitting there in nationals in second place with a sour look on my face. Um, and then I finally won. And then I went back the next year. And then I retired. It was enough. I did my circuit. It was a lot of fun though. One of the best things I've ever done in my career. I will tell you, it's probably one of the highlights I will always remember about my career is doing cable games and competing at that level.
And I have to say, when Ron did it, it was much more competitive than when I did it.
Yeah, I would say the same for myself.
Yeah, people were just playing, just like walking up and playing when I started. A lot of us didn't know much about it, and but they got real competitive later. So people now, I don't know how competitive it is now because I haven't dealt with it, but they're probably pretty competitive.
I think
One last point though, you'd be surprised at how many people mess up on drop connector installation.
Yep.
That is so. Pay attention, right? Everybody, we all assume we know how to cut a F connector. Don't do that. Make sure you know exactly what a perfect F connector looks like before going into the games, and make sure that you do it right, because there's been so many great players that just like bombed on the F connector, and it's like, okay, that really messed them up. So yeah, F connector, yeah, pay attention.
Yeah, and that's why I say talk to the judges, the hosts, and make sure you know what they're looking for, so that as you're doing the work, you're doing it to what their expectations are.
I will add a tip. So here's my tip for everybody. Don't be the first one to go. Let someone go in front of you and watch how they get scored.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Ron was like a machine in the hardline slicing. He did great work with that, great time. And I was fortunate enough to be chairman of the games at the time and got to call Ron out as the winner, which was an exciting moment because, he persevered, he stuck with it, and came back time and time again until he got that first place. So that shows, how people feel about the cable games. And for me, winning the international games was a highlight of my career. And, once again, just like the training we talked about, something that can separate you from the rest when you're going for that job or building your career.
Well said. And, all those tips are going to allow you to achieve some of the awards that we have on the screen here. We talked about medals, right, Doug, and that famous
Yep.
Doug Nolan gold medal that he got. And then we also have that trip to the SCTE Expo. Ron, Doug, or Woody, have you guys been to that SCTE National Expo? Can you share some experiences there of why
Yeah.
that is a appetizing prize that the team may want to win?
Yeah, I mean that's where we all won was at the SCTE Expo. And let me just say that the winner will get a trip to Expo. Whether you compete or not in the Cable Tech games at Expo is going to depend on how other Cable Tech games suss out throughout our region. So I think there's right now probably 3, maybe 4 games that are within our region, and the regional director will determine who represents the region. So you're guaranteed to go to Expo. If you do well enough, you'll compete in the games at Expo for a chance to be the international champion.
And if you win at Expo, we forgot to mention, you get a paid trip to the next Expo to defend your title. So you're going to get two, you're going to get 2 all expenses paid trips to Expo if you win at national or you win at the international cable games.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll be sending this deck out after the call, and what you'll notice here, these are our registration links, so you can scan these with your phone if you haven't registered for our vendor day event and the games themselves. They have that here with the dates and the times. And the location's in Pleasanton, as we stated earlier. We've been having it in Concord the last couple of years. This year it is in Pleasanton at the DoubleTree. And we have the address there, 7050 Johnson Drive. And, you know, a lot of the tips and tricks here are going to really help you in understanding. If you've never competed in the games before and you have any questions, we also have the Cable Games Handbook here that can provide some information. We have about 13 minutes left in the meeting. Doug, Woody, do we want to open the floor up to questions from the team, or did you want to cover anything in additional detail? We can go back over anything if you'd like.
I think any questions that anybody might have, happy to answer.
If anyone wants to see what the medals look like, I've got a bunch of them I can display here.
Oh, well, yeah,
Let
that'd be
me
cool
know.
to see, Woody.
Okay, hang on. Let me go get them. Just give me a minute.
Sure.
I definitely encourage anybody on the call too to get the word out. It's much more enjoyable when you have more participants. And really makes for a good time. So if you have any coworkers that are just on the fence or not sure, at least encourage them anyways.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would second that. You know, the international games are just interesting to see, and in some cases hurting cats when you got 48 people trying to compete to be the winner of the internationals.
Yeah, it can definitely be a daunting experience, but it's, you know, getting out there and talking with folks that may have done it before, or folks that might have a skill set again that you might not be specialized in. Definitely look at building a team, getting a group together, and that'll, you know, increase your chances of performing well. And then also, again, the point of these events is one of the many points of these events, in addition to education, is networking. So the chance for you to network with others and others to network with you and learn from you is extremely crucial.
All right,
Well,
there
they're the medals. Oh, looks like your background might need to step
Yeah.
away from the camera.
Huh. Okay.
How often do you wear those, Woody?
That's his ice.
They're in a room. Did you guys see them? I don't know if you can see them now. I don't know how to turn the background off real easily. There we go. No, it's gonna phase it out.
Yeah,
I'm sure Woody's got enough medals, probably weighs more than he does.
Makes Flavor Flav jealous, right?
Dang.
There you go.
Okay. I should have had that ready. Let me see if I can turn the background off here real quick.
Maybe you can wear them, Woody.
Well,
Yeah, let me try wearing them.
There you go.
Now we're talking.
There we go.
That's the way they should properly be done.
That's what Woody looked like.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Just a few medals there.
Yeah,
Looks like a scarf.
like.
You got so many.
I enjoyed playing, so I collected a lot of medals. But you guys can do that too, and what we're hoping is somebody else does this.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Woody. Thank you, Doug and Ron. Thanks for joining and sharing your experiences. Very much appreciated. And I do see that Dante Estrada joined. Dante is one of the Comtech Cable Games West Division champions and representatives that went to our national games, who you'll have a chance to compete against and see if you can beat him. He's a very, very well-versed human being when it comes to the cable industry and many other things. So looking forward to see how y'all stack up against Dante and his teammates. So did anybody have any questions before we close up the meeting here today?
I have one point on. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dante.
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Excellent. You're welcome, sir. Go ahead.
Do they still do the scoring the same as they used to? Does anybody know?
And when you say the scoring the same as they used to, what do you mean? Are they still using the program?
The way we did the scoring is you get a number based on your placement in that event. So if you're finished first place, you get 1, or second, you get 2, and so forth, right? And then we added all those up, and the person with the lowest score was the overall champion.
Yeah, I
Again,
believe that's the way it's done. It's all built into the program that I think it was Randy Blunt put together.
right. Yes, I remember Randy. Yeah, so
yeah, I've not heard of any changes to the scoring process.
yeah, so just do like Doug did, just be consistent, and then try to be good in every category, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, back when Woody and I did it, the scoring was done basically on a scratch pad and a crayon.
Yeah, it was pretty rudimentary.
Used an etch a
Okay.
sketch, you mean? I'm just joking. All right,
Yeah.
excellent.
Appreciate everybody's time today, though, and best of luck in playing the games or just continuing in your career.
Yes, I look forward to seeing you all there and seeing you all play and have fun.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you all for taking the time to join. Once again, thank you, Woody, Doug, Ron, and team for taking the time here to speak with us and guide us through what to expect here at the 2025 SCTE Golden Gate Chapter Cable Games. We're looking forward to seeing you all there and celebrating your success in the games. We'll be rooting for you. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Right on. Take care.
Thank you.